The Ugly Duckling. On a beautiful summer day, a family of ducks is taking a swim while another is enjoying a stroll by the bank. But one duck is sitting on her eggs among the tall leaves.
I wonder when my babies are going to come out. They are taking so long to hatch. It is so lonely. No one has the time to visit me.
But Mommy Duck didn't have to wait too long. Soon the eggs started cracking and the little ducklings started taking small, unsteady steps out of their shells.
Quack, 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 quack. Oh, my babies are so beautiful. Now come and line up here, all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, there should be one more.
Mother Duck looked around and saw one egg which had not yet hatched.
I think I will have to sit again on this egg till it hatches. It seems pretty large.
Soon the last egg hatched, but the duckling that crept out was large and ugly.
This little fellow doesn't look like his brothers and sisters.
The next day, Mother Duck leads her brood to the water.
Oh, I am proud today that my ducklings are swimming so well, and how well the youngest one is swimming. Come on, kids. That's enough for today. We must get to the farm before it turns dark.
The duck family makes its way to the farmhouse where there were lots of other ducks.
What is that strange-looking creature doing here?
The other ducklings are so cute, but this one is so big and ugly.
He is ugly. We don't want him here.
That's not a nice thing to say. He is still small, and I'm sure he will grow up to be beautiful too.
But the other ducklings continued to bully and make fun of the ugly duckling.
I hope the ducklings stop this nonsense. I can't bear to see that poor child looking so sad.
But as days went by, things started becoming worse for the ugly duckling. Wherever he went, everyone was mean to him.
Have you ever seen anything uglier than this?
Seeing this creature in the morning, my day will also be as ugly as he is.
He seems to be getting uglier by the day.
The ugly duckling just wanted to hide somewhere and cry. Even his brothers and sisters were rude to him. Mother Duck was very sad to see everyone treat the ugly duckling so badly.
Nobody wants to talk to me or play with me because I am ugly. I will run away from here.
So the ugly duckling flew over the fence of the farmyard and continued flying until he spotted a large moor. He decided to spend the night there.
I am so tired. I think I will spend the night here.
Next morning, the ugly duckling woke up to the sound of loud quacking. He opened his eyes and saw a flock of wild ducks.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Can I please stay here for a while? I have nowhere to go.
You are ugly. Stay here. Don't get in our way.
The ugly duckling stayed on the moor for a few days. He felt lonely, but no one bullied him or hurt him because of his looks. One morning, the duckling heard a noise like a big bang. He lay still, too scared to move. When he finally lifted his head and looked around, all of the other ducks had fled. The ugly duckling also fled from the moor as fast as it could. It flew as fast as its young wings would take him. However, suddenly there was a thunder and lightning, scaring the little duckling.
Brr! I am so wet and cold. That cottage there looks warm. Maybe I can take shelter there.
The cottage belonged to an old lady who lived with her tomcat and hen, who found the duckling the next morning.
What is happening here? Why are you making so much noise? What is this we have here? Looks like a duck, though a very ugly one. I know what I will do. I will keep it with me and wait for it to lay eggs. Then I will have eggs from my hen and from this duck too. Oh, but I do hope that this is a duck and not a drake.
So the ugly duckling stayed with the old lady in her cottage. But here also, the tomcat and hen made its life so miserable.
Hey, you. Don't you get scared when you see your face in the mirror? Look at me. My coat is so silky. Look at my whiskers, so long and beautiful. The mistress says my walk is so graceful.
You are such a loser. You cannot even lay an egg. Look at my eggs. Such lovely big and brown ones.
The ugly duckling continued to be lonely. He would sit in front of the window looking at the small pond outside.
How I wish I could swim in that pond. It used to be so nice when I swam in the cool water back home.
Are you mad? The mistress isn't going to let you go. You have a safe house. What more do you want? Behave yourself and don't anger the mistress, the cat, or even me. Want to swim? Indeed!
The ugly duckling felt very, very sad, wondering what to do.
I know this place is safe, but I feel like a prisoner here, being punished by being not allowed to swim. I want to swim. I want to be free to swim and fly as I please. I have to escape from here somehow.
So one night, the duckling quietly crept out of the cottage and went in search of a new home. Soon he found a beautiful lake where he could swim and dive.
Ah! This is such a lovely place. Feels so good to swim after so long. I hope the other animals and birds here are friendly, so I don't have to move away from here also.
But alas, here too, the other animals did not want to be friends with the ugly duckling.
Why does everybody keep avoiding me? Just because I'm ugly doesn't mean everyone has to be mean. No one wants to play with me or even talk to me.
So life continued in this miserable way for the ugly duckling. Soon the seasons changed, autumn set in, and the color of the leaves changed from red to orange and then gold. Winter followed. The forest turned white, and a very cold wind set in. The dark clouds made the duckling feel even more gloomy and sad, so the duckling decided to go to the lakeside, and what a lovely sight he saw there.
What are these beautiful birds? I don't think I have seen them before. How beautifully they spread their large wings. Looks like they are not flying, but just gliding through the sky.
Though the winter grew colder, the duckling continued to swim despite the freezing water, and then finally took refuge in some bushes. Finally it was spring again. Plants started sprouting, and the sun peeped down from the sky. The duckling was so happy that it was becoming warm again.
Everything around me has become so beautiful. My wings have also become strong, and I can now swim in the pond close by.
Suddenly, the duckling once again saw the same beautiful birds that he had seen at the start of spring, and quickly ran and hid behind some bushes.
Those birds are so beautiful. I better not go near them, or they too will make fun of me. I am so scared that they might kill me. I'm so tired of being picked on by everybody. First the ducklings at the farm, my own brothers and sisters, the hen and tomcat at the cottage, and everybody else. I wish I had never been born.
The duckling went to a quiet spot on the lake where nobody could see him. He was very, very sad, and big fat tears rolled down its face. Suddenly the duckling saw its own reflection in the lake and couldn't believe his eyes. For staring at him in the clear water below was his own reflection. No longer a dark, gray bird, ugly and repulsive to look at. Instead he had turned into a graceful and beautiful swan. The ugly duckling had transformed into a beautiful swan. All of the other swans came to greet the newcomer and stroked his neck with their beaks. Finally, the ugly little thing was accepted and loved by his new friends to whom he belonged, the beautiful and graceful swans. A family with 2 children came to see the swan swimming.
Look, there is a new one. Father, mother, come here. There is another swan. A new one has arrived. The new one is the most beautiful of all. Oh, he is so young and pretty.
The swan did not know how to react to so much praise. He felt shy and tried to hide his face. After being mocked and taunted and bullied for so long, he couldn't believe he was being appreciated and accepted. And he was actually being called beautiful.
I never dreamt that I would see a day where someone would call me beautiful. I wish I had received the same love and affection when I was the little and ugly creature. I wouldn't have spent such a sad childhood. Why do people treat others according to their looks? That is so, so sad.
The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. It was summertime, and it was beautiful in the country. The sunshine fell warmly on an old house, surrounded by deep canals, and from the walls down to the water's edge there grew large burdock leaves, so high that children could stand upright among them without being seen. This place was as wild and lonely as the thickest parts of the woods, and it was here that a duck had chosen to make her nest. She was sitting on her eggs, but the pleasure she had felt at first was now almost gone, because she had been there so long. At last, however, the eggs began to crack, and one little head after another appeared. "Quack, quack," said the mother duck, and all the little ones got up as well as they could and peeped about from under the green leaves. "How large the world is," said one of the ducklings. "Do you think this is the whole of the world?" asked the mother. "It stretches far away beyond the other side of the garden, down to the pastor's field, but I have never been there. Are you all here?" And then she got up. "No, I have not got you all. The largest egg is still here. How long, I wonder, will this last? I'm so weary of it." And she sat down again. At last, the great egg burst. "Peep, peep," said the little one, and out it tumbled. But oh, how large and gray and ugly it was! The mother duck looked at it. "That is a great, strong creature," said she. "None of the others is at all like it." The next day the weather was delightful, and the sun was shining warmly, when the mother duck with her family went down to the canal. Splash! She went into the water. "Quack, quack," she cried, and one duckling after another jumped in. The water closed over their heads, but all came up again and swam quite easily. All were there, even the ugly gray one was swimming about with the rest. "Quack, quack," said the mother duck. "Now come with me. I will take you into the world, but keep close to me, or someone may step on you, and beware of the cat." When they came into the duck yard, two families were quarreling about the head of an eel, which in the end was carried off by a cat. "See, my children, such is the way of the world," said the mother duck, sighing, for she, too, was fond of roasted eels. "Now use your legs," said she. "Keep together and bow to the old duck you see yonder. She is the noblest born of them all, and is of Spanish blood, which accounts for her dignified appearance and manners. And look, she has a red rag on her leg. That is considered a special mark of distinction, and is the greatest honor a duck can have." The other ducks who were in the yard looked at the little family, and one of them said, "Only see, now we have another brood, as if there were not enough of us already. How ugly that one is! We will not endure it." And immediately one of the drakes flew at the poor gray youngster and bit him on the neck. "Leave him alone," said the mother. "He is doing no one any harm." "Yes, but he is so large and ungainly." "Those are fine children that our good mother has," said the old duck with the red rag on her leg. "All are pretty except that one, who certainly is not at all well favored. I wish his mother could improve him a little." "Certainly he is not handsome," said the mother, "but he is very good and swims as well as the others, indeed rather better. I think in time he will grow like the others and perhaps will look smaller." And she stroked the duckling's neck and smoothed his ruffled feathers. "Besides," she added, "he is a drake. I think he will be very strong, so he will fight his way through." "The other ducks are very pretty," said the old duck. "Pray make yourself at home, and if you find an eel's head, you can bring it to me." And accordingly they made themselves at home. But the poor duckling, who had come last out of his eggshell, and who was so ugly, was bitten, pecked, and teased by both ducks and hens. And the turkey cock, who had come into the world with spurs on, and therefore fancied he was an emperor, puffed himself up like a ship in full sail, and quite red with passion marched up to the duckling. The poor thing scarcely knew what to do. He was quite distressed because he was so ugly. So passed the first day, and afterward matters grew worse and worse. Even his brothers and sisters behaved unkindly, saying, "May the cat take you, you ugly thing." The ducks bit him, the hens pecked him, and the girl who fed the poultry kicked him. He ran through the hedge, and the little birds in the bushes were frightened and flew away. "That is because I am so ugly," thought the duckling, and ran on. At last he came to a wide moor where some wild ducks lived. There he lay the whole night, feeling tired and sad. In the morning the wild ducks flew up, and then they saw their new companion. "Pray, who are you?" they asked. The duckling greeted them as politely as possible. "You are really very ugly," said one of the wild ducks, "but that does not matter to us if you do not wish to marry into our family." Poor thing, he had never thought of marrying. He only wished to lie among the reeds and drink the water of the moor. There he stayed there for 2 whole days. On the 3rd day along came 2 wild geese, or rather goslings, for they had not been out of their eggshells, which accounted for their impertinence. "Hark ye," they said, "you are so ugly that we like you very well. Will you go with us and become a bird of passage?" On another moor, not far from this, are some sweet dear wild geese, as lovely creatures as have ever said, "The ugly duckling, it is a chance for you to get a wife. You may be lucky, ugly as you are." Just then a gun went off, and both goslings lay dead among the reeds. Bang! Another gun went off, and the whole flock of wild geese flew up from the bushes. Again and again the same alarming noise was heard. There was a great shooting party. The sportsmen lay in ambush all around. The dogs splashed around in the mud, bending the reeds and rushes in all directions. How frightened the poor little duck was! He turned away his head, thinking to hide it under his wing. In the same moment a fierce-looking dog passed close to him, his tongue hanging out from his mouth, his eyes sparkling fearfully. His jaws were wide open. He thrust his nose close to the duckling, showing his sharp white teeth, and then he was gone without hurting him. "Well, let me be thankful," sighed the duckling. "I am so ugly that even a dog will not bite me." And he lay still, though the shooting continued among the reeds. The noise did not cease until late in the day, and even then the poor little thing dared not stir. He waited several hours before he looked around him, and then, although it had gotten very windy and was starting to rain, he hastened away from the moor as fast as he could. Toward evening he reached a little hut, so wretched that he knew not on which side to fall, and therefore remained standing. He noticed that the door had lost one of his hinges, and hung so much awry that there was a space between it, and the wall wide enough to let him through. Since the storm was becoming worse and worse, he crept into the room and hid in a corner. In this room lived an old woman with her tomcat and her hen. The cat, who she called her little son, knew how to set up his back and purr. He could even throw out sparks when his fur was stroked the wrong way. The hen had very short legs, and was therefore called Chickie Shortlegs. She laid very good eggs, and the old woman loved her as her own child. The next morning the cat began to mew and the hen to cackle when they saw the new guest. "What is the matter?" asked the old woman, looking around. Her eyes were not good, so she took the duckling to be a fat duck who had lost her way. "This is a wonderful catch," she said. "I shall now have duck's egg, if it not be a drake. We must wait and see." So the duckling was kept on trial for 3 weeks, but no eggs made their appearance. Day after day the duckling sat in the corner feeling very sad, until finally the fresh air and bright sun that came into the room through the open door gave him such a strong desire to swim, and he could not help telling the hen. "What ails you?" said the hen. "You have nothing to do, and therefore you brood over these fancies. Either lay eggs or purr, and then you will forget them." "But it is so delicious to swim," said the duckling. "So delicious when the water closes over your head and you plunge to the bottom." "Well, that is a queer sort of pleasure," said the hen. "I think you must be crazy, not to speak of myself. Ask the cat. He is the wisest creature I know, whether he would like to swim or to plunge to the bottom of the water. Ask your mistress. No one is cleverer than she. Do you think she would take pleasure in swimming and in the waters closing over her head?" "You do not understand me," said the duckling. "What? We do not understand you. So you think yourself wiser than the cat and the old woman, not to speak of myself. Do not fancy any such thing, child, but be thankful for all the kindness that has been shown you. Are you not lodged in a warm room, and have you not the advantage of society when you can learn something? Come, for once take the trouble either to learn to purr or to lay eggs." "I think I will take my chance and go out into the wide world again," said the duckling. "Well, go then," said the hen. So the duckling went away. He soon found water and swam on the surface and plunged beneath it. But all the other creatures passed him by because of his ugliness. The autumn came, the leaves turned yellow and brown, the wind caught them and danced them about. The air was cold, the clouds were heavy with hail or snow, and the raven sat on the hedge and croaked. The poor duckling was certainly not very comfortable. One evening, just as the sun was setting, a flock of large birds rose from the brushwood. The duckling had never seen anything so beautiful before. Their plumage was a dazzling white, and they had long, slender necks. They were swans. They uttered a singular cry, spread out their long, splendid wings, and flew away from these cold regions to warmer countries across the sea. They flew so high, so very high. The ugly duckling's feelings were very strange. He turned round and round in the water like a wheel, strained his neck to look after them, and sent forth such a loud and strange cry that he almost frightened himself. He could not forget them, those noble birds, those happy birds. The duckling did not know what the birds were called or where they were flying, yet he loved them as he had never loved anything before. He did not envy them. It would never have occurred to him to wish such beauty for himself. He would have been quite content if the ducks in the duckyard had just endured his company. And the winter was so cold. The duckling had to swim round and round in the water to keep it from freezing. But every night the opening in which he swam became smaller, and the duckling had to make good use of his legs to prevent the water from freezing entirely. At last, exhausted, he lay stiff and cold in the ice. Early in the morning, a peasant passed him and saw him. He broke the ice in pieces with his wooden shoe and carried the duckling home to his wife. The duckling soon revived. The children would have played with him, but he thought they wished to tease him, and in his terror jumped into the milk pail, so that the milk was splashed about the room. The good woman screamed and clapped her hands. He flew next into the tub where the butter was kept, and then into the meal barrel and out again. The woman screamed. The children tried to catch him and laughed and screamed too. It was well for him that the door stood open. He jumped out among the bushes into the new-fallen snow and lay there as in a dream. But it would be too sad to relate all the trouble and misery he had to suffer during that winter. He was lying on a moor among the reeds when the sun began to shine warmly again. The larks were singing, and beautiful spring had returned. Once more he shook his wings. They were stronger and carried him forward quickly. And before he was well aware of it, he was in a large garden where the apple trees stood in full bloom, where the syringas sent forth their fragrance and hung their long green branches down into the winding canal. Oh, everything was so lovely, so full of freshness of spring. Out of the thicket came 3 beautiful white swans. They displayed their features so proudly and swam so lightly. The duckling knew the glorious creatures, and was seized by a strange sadness. "I will to fly to them, those kingly birds," he said. "They will kill me, because I, ugly as I am, have presumed to approach them, but it doesn't matter. Better be killed by them than be bitten by the ducks, pecked by the hens, kicked by the girl who feeds the poultry, and have so much to suffer during the winter." He flew into the water and swam towards the beautiful creatures. They saw him and shot forward to meet him. "Only kill me," said the poor duckling, and he bowed his head low, expecting death. But what did he see in the water? He saw beneath him his own grey form, no longer a plump, ugly grey bird. It was the reflection of a swan. It does not matter to have been born in a duck yard if one has been hatched from a swan's egg. The larger swans swam around him and stroked him with their beaks. He was very happy. Some little children were running about in the garden. They threw grain and bread into the water, and the youngest exclaimed, "There's a new one!" The others also cried out, "Yes, a new swan has come!" And they clapped their hands and ran and told their father and mother. Bread and cake were thrown into the water, and everyone said, "This new one is the best, so young and so beautiful." And the old swans bowed before him. The young swan felt quite ashamed and hid his head under his wing. He remembered how he had been laughed at and cruelly treated, and how now he heard everyone say he was the most beautiful of all beautiful birds. The stringers bent down their branches toward him, and the sun shone warmly and brightly. He shook his feathers, stretched his slender neck, and in the joy of his heart said, "How little did I dream of so much happiness when I was the ugly, despised duckling."
Hello. You all deserve thanks and praise. Without you, our channel would not have reached the best ranks, and without your efforts, success would not have been any reach and goals would not have been achieved. You are the basis for raising this channel and the basis for its progress, and you are the ones carrying the torch of success and development.